Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
At your job, do you ever have to deal with a nose roller? How about a snub pulley? Well, if you're installing a new conveyor belt system, dealing with the different components can sound like you're speaking a foreign language. Luckily, you've got a team ready to help. Grainger's technical product specialists are fluent in maintenance, repair, and operations. So whenever you want to talk shop, just reach out. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Lindsey wanted to privatize water. It's a resource that belongs to everyone.
Doesn't justify murder.
Well, I agree. I hate to say it, but yay! She's dead!
She had a daughter, Dr. Prochik, who's now going to grow up without a dad.
You mean a mom?
A mother that you dosed with several kinds of South American mushrooms, your specialty. You have a photo that puts you at the scene?
At Niagara Falls? Ring a bell?
Detective, you okay?
We saw you on the roof with your gunman.
What's going on?
I'm not the one who stabbed the captain with the pickle.
Uh-oh.
In New York City, sexually based offenses are considered especially heinous. These are their stories.
Hey guys, this is Munch My Benson. This intro is coming off a little bit strange because some asshole hotboxed my apartment building's lobby just a few minutes ago, and so my whole apartment now stinks like dirty weed that I used to smoke in high school. It's rough, man. But yeah, so my name is Adam. And I, of course, am in New York. It is extremely cold. It's like 15 degrees outside right now. I'm joined on the line by Josh. How are things, Josh?
You know, sub-zero here. And that's Fahrenheit, not Celsius.
Yeah.
But, I mean, basically, I'm not going outside, so it doesn't matter.
The only reason I have to go outside is because the dog makes me.
Sure.
And even then, it's like 3 times a day when it's this cold. That's it. Let me think. Oh, I just watched Pig, which is a fantastic movie. I was exposed to some of the Pig promotions, and yet I had no idea what it was about, besides the fact that Nick Cage loved that pig and wanted it back. I did not know that it was going to be about the restaurant industry, and I fucking loved it. I fucking loved it.
How great is it?
Yeah. I worked in the restaurant industry in a bunch of different places and a bunch of different levels and a bunch of different ways. And, you know, it was brilliant. Just a brilliant movie. Loved every minute of it until the fire cover that his dead wife puts on the mixtape for him at the end.
I loved it. I love that movie.
Yeah.
So much.
Beautiful movie. Really enjoyed it a lot. I was devastated when I found out that...
Spoiler alert.
Sorry.
That part's getting cut out.
But what I was going to say is that I love that Adam Arkin is essentially playing the same character he was playing in We Only Dream of Electric Elves, the episode that I am working on right now.
No, We Dream of Machine Elves.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah. But Josh, I think we should just jump into this because I know I took a lot of notes and I imagine that you did as well.
I have 8 pages.
Jesus Christ.
This is 8 Google Doc pages of notes.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, first off, what are you drinking? Because I think we're both double fisting.
Yeah, we're both double fisting. I'm drinking a smoked India Pale Ale.
Okay.
That I think is called Surtur's Flame, but I'm not sure because it's SURTR. It's from Hammerheart Brewing Company.
Okay.
It's interesting. I don't know that I would buy it again.
What is meant by a smoked IPA?
So in this instance, beechwood and cherrywood smoked malt.
Interesting.
But I'm not wild about it. No. And then to chase the beer, which is 8.9%, I've got, my normal glass of whiskey. So I've got a Bullet Rye Rocks that's 4 fingers.
Nice. I've got I think I've talked about this beer before, Montauk Cold Day IPA, which I really like. It's a really nice beer. It's not nearly as exotic as what you're drinking. And it's only 6.7% alcohol.
Okay.
To go with that, I have neat Jameson's. So here's to you, buddy. Cheers.
Salute.
Yeah. This episode is balls to the wall, fucking crazy. From the beginning to the end, it is crazy. It's Happy Valentine's Day to all the lovers out there. This is a perfect episode to drop on Valentine's Day.
Just make sure that you don't steal poison from your lover's work and use it to kill someone in a way that would easily be traced back to that person because it's so fucking specific. If you're going to poison someone, and don't want to get your lover in trouble, don't incriminate them and ultimately yourself.
We'll get there.
Happy Valentine's Day. This week we are watching season 12, episode 5, Wet.
Yeah, we are. I hope there's one called Damp.
Yeah, and Moist. There better be a Moist. I'm going to be upset if there isn't. After Cabbage Patch shaming an insecure cis white dude, TV Supergirl strips down to her unmentionables at the Bethesda Terrace and sprints for the fountain. But before she can fountain frolic, her emasculated/titillated companion stops her dead in her tracks. Since consensual sex acts must be met with violence in this universe, a similarly scantily clad woman is dead in a foot of water in the fountain. The ME at the scene coarsely tells us that she had blood and semen in her, quote, hoochie hoo, and that she's missing a chunk of her hair. When Liv and Elliot walk into their shiny new digs that morning, Finn lets them know that there's a hair-snipping perv known as Sassoon who works that part of the park, and a smash cut to the park later, Liv's flipping her hair back and forth, teasing Bob Dylan's stunt double from Don't Look Back into trying his hand at snipping a lock of her sweet brown locks, only to have Elliot swoop in and save the day. After insisting the hair was cut post-mortem, Sassoon alibis out as he was otherwise engaged with a lap dance at a drag bar on Columbus, leaving them back at square one. Fortunately, their new ADA, Mika Vaughn, waltzes in the door, bearing the gift of a DNA match for their perp. The semen matches with a Ms. Monica Worley, who Stabler is quick to note is not a man, and therefore has no semen. Have no fear, Stabes. This is a familial match, so it must be her brother who did the deed. They track down Monica on the street, where she's miming as a performance artist outside a gallery. Mm-hmm. When they ask her about her brother, she's eager to assume he'd have acted violently toward a woman, as can be assumed about any family containing an adult performance artist hoisting shit in a window with an imaginary rope. The brother is living off his trust fund in a brownstone on the east side of Central Park. Cheese Dick Trust Fund doucher tells Stabler the Vic propositioned him at the reservoir and that his dog ate her freshly plucked tampon. But when Elliot says he's not buying his story, Douchebro ups the douche factor by proffering that he's got a following on SexProwl and plays them the entire encounter. The video clears fuck Mook. And after the unit regroups, a random wanders in and asks Elliot if he's working the case. When Elliot confirms he is, the dude takes an easily ducked swing at Stabler, asking why he didn't stop it after getting the video emailed to him. Greg, the husband, tells Munch that his wife had been off coke for a whole year, but that her job in PR at Colanow was high pressure. So SVU starts exploring the job angle. Turns out Lindsey didn't just do PR for Colanow. She ran an insidious water hoarding game, diverting attention from soda being poisoned to try to convince people they should get off the couch And one anti-soda advocate points them to Davy Gams's mother, who tells us how her son committed suicide because he couldn't kick his soda habit. While Finn and Munch lament the failed soda tax and corn subsidies, Wong enters in with the results of the analysis of Lindsey's stomach contents. Lo and behold, she was poisoned by 4 rare South American mushrooms that, in addition to being deadly, also make you randy. The ingestion is traced back to dinner the night before at a playground fundraising dinner where there are scores of photos showing her with the mushrooms in question on her salad. One picture shows a Dr. Prochik getting kicked out of the banquet hall, and a quick dive down the water rights rabbit hole shows an article written by Prochik about the fight for free water rights upstate. Oh, and he just so happens to be a mushroom expert. While questioning Prochik, Liv talks gibberish, and Prochik warns Elliot to catch her right as she passes out into Elliot's tender embrace. An act break later, she comes to with Wong at her hospital bedside, where he tells her she inhaled the neurotoxic shroom fumes that temporarily waylaid her. Prochik quickly shows them that he's mad as a hatter as he jazz rants about water, shrooms, and cola now. After arraignment, and while Upper Krusty's Aunt May and her beaten-down granddaughter drop off the photos from the dinner, Vaughn and defense attorney Dave Seaver wrangle over how much time the shroom doc should serve, but Seaver wants to claim mental defect as a factor due to the shroom fumes, a defense for which Prochik will not stand, leading him to fire Seaver rather than sell out the love of his life, Fungi. In court with a new jaundiced public defender, Prochik proceeds to try to enter a guilty plea, but in doing so makes the mistake of saying there were only 3 South American mushrooms, not 4, alerting Elliot to the fact that he couldn't have done the deed. Stabler tries to get Vaughn to ask for a recess, and after she and the judge balk at his lobbying, he feigns being shroom sick to get the proceedings shut down. Going back to the photos, they establish that Prochik couldn't have shroomed Lindsey's salad, and Vaughn makes a call before taking off for the night for some beauty rest, while the rest of the unit tries to figure out who from the pictures might have had motive to off Lindsey. Vaughn says she ain't slowing this train down, but the next morning in court, the shitty defense attorney is nowhere to be seen, and neither is his client. Turns out, Vaughn sent the sunken-eyed lawyer on a vacation, and as a result of her shady delay tactics, the DA has sent Kragen to fire her by proxy on the courthouse steps. A visit to Prochik with the pictures from the party elicits a telling pause at seeing the cowed blue-blood granddaughter and Olivia tail Prochik, who's off in a hurry to an impromptu meetup with Emma. Prochik can't confirm which mushrooms were in Lindsey's salad. Emma tells them that Lindsey cozied up to Granny Brooks, who had a fuckload of land with a metric fuckton of water that Lindsey wanted to snatch up for cola now. Stabler plays their love against Emma, getting her to confess in the box. As Prochik barges in to tell Emma he loves her, she stuffs the damning evidentiary mushrooms into her mouth to kill herself. Emma gets her stomach pumped, and shitbag grandma comes in to strip the heirloom necklace from her fuck-up grandkid's neck. Prochik enters as dickhead grandma leaves, tells the room he still loves Emma, and we get a dickhead grandmas raise generations of dickheads? Dick Wolf.
This one, at the end of it, kind of made me want to bring back that, like, who is the big bad in this episode? Because I think at the end, it's definitely the grandma.
Sure.
You might have heard the reggae song, Money is the Root of All Evil, but I think in SVU, grandma is the root of all evil.
Certainly in this one. Holy shit.
There is a lot going on.
So much plot.
There's so many crazy things that I don't even know. I don't even have like a top 5 in my mind of what the craziest things that happened in this episode are.
Did you ever think that we would do an episode of this podcast that focuses on soda being bad for you, water rights, and mushrooms? Exotic South American poisonous mushrooms.
Having both Benson and Stabler have freakouts for different reasons.
Yep.
Having a website called SexProwl be one of the most professional parts of the episode. The whole SexProwl segment I thought was very well done. I believed it as a real website. It does not exist.
Yeah. I looked for 4 hours for that video too.
Oh, man. Oh, so much. And then the whole Mika Vaughn shit is just, I think it's a big joke, but I think it's a well-played joke.
We'll get into that in a second, because there is a reason for this.
Oh, interesting.
So I guess we go to guest stars.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are quite a few who we kind of have to talk about at length. So there are a lot like that are sort of towards the bottom of the episode that I know we don't have time to talk about. So if they've been in another episode that we haven't covered yet, if there wasn't anything that jumped out at me, if they weren't pretty prominent in this episode, they're getting skipped because there's just too much to talk about.
Yeah, gymnastics coach, I'm sorry, you're skipped.
You did fine work, but don't have the time. We did talk about Michael Boatman, who's playing defense attorney Dave Seaver in this episode. We talked about him back in Munch My Benson episode 29 when we were talking about Abomination, which was season 5, episode 8. That episode was called I Was Gonna Say the Guy's Scared Stiff. Now, Paula Patton, who's playing ADA Mika Vaughn. She was born in L.A. to a school teacher and a lawyer. She went to Alexander Hamilton Magnet Arts High School in Castle Heights, which is just north of Culver City in L.A., which is also the high school from which Randall Park, Rita Hayworth, Robert Shapiro, Nipsey Hussle, Layla Ali, Kamasi Washington, Brian Austin Green, Emil Hirsch, and the wonderful Lizzie Kaplan all graduated from.
That is a very diverse group of alumni.
I went with the weirdest cross-section that I could come up with. I honestly could have picked so many more. There were like 15 recognizable people that I just left off. Wow. It's really wild. Also, when in high school, she became involved in a PBS series that took young aspiring filmmakers on a trip across the country to work on their documentaries. She went to UC Berkeley and then after a year transferred to USC to go to the USC Film School. She started working in TV and film right after college. IMDb has her as having been a PA on the Howie Mandel Show back in 1998.
Weird.
But she realized that she wanted to be in front of the camera and started taking acting classes. She was the cover model for Robin Thicke's first solo album and sang on the Usher song Can You Handle It that Thicke co-wrote. She also has multiple songwriting credits on Robin Thicke albums. In 2005, she married Robin Thicke and made her big screen debut in Hitch, then appeared in London, the film London, and the Outcast star vehicle Idlewild before landing the female lead role in the Denzel Washington star vehicle Deja Vu. After a few more big roles in Mirrors, Swing Vote, Precious, and Just Right, she was cast as the new ADA Mika Vaughn to replace special guest star Sharon Stone, who had, like a 4-episode run, and Stephanie March, neither of whom were going to be returning. She was meant to be in multiple episodes, but then was cast as a female lead in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol and broke contract, likely leading to her all caps abrupt exit in this episode and necessitating Melissa Sage Miller's entering the fold as Gillian Hardwick. So that's what happened. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol was a massive hit and did $700 million US worldwide. Yeah, I think she probably made a lot more money off of that than she would have if she were stuck on SVU for, 5 to 10 episodes.
That's for sure.
From here, she had big or lead roles in Jumping the Broom, Two Guns, Baggage Claim, the About Last Night remake, The Perfect Match, The Do-Over, Warcraft, and Traffic, and she was the lead in the TV series Somewhere Between. In 2015, she and Robin Thicke divorced, and it got messy. In early 2017, Patton accused Thicke of child abuse and then was granted sole custody and a restraining order against her ex that included their son and her mother, accusing him of domestic violence, infidelity, and drug and alcohol addiction.
Surprising.
Court documents show numerous abusive incidents in which she alleged, quote, given Robin's history of hitting me with a closed fist, pushing me to the ground and kicking me, I had no doubt he was capable of hitting Julian, particularly after having used cocaine, alcohol, or whatever other substances with which he is presently involved. End quote.
Yikes.
I know there are two sides to every story, but given his general douchery in the Miley Cyrus twerking VMA performance where he told her to be as naked as possible only to then get pissed at her for stealing the show, and the corroborated allegations levied against him in that leaked portion from Emily Ratajkowski's book from last year. The book hasn't come out yet, but the allegations came out last year, where he grabbed her bare breasts on the set of the Blurred Lines video, which shut down the shoot for the day. It feels like he might just be the shithead Paula Patton's accusing him of being in these court documents.
I mean, his hit song is about sexual assault, basically. So it's not that big of a stretch to find out that he's a shithead.
Unless it's Robin Thicke fans, you never hear any good things about him.
Yeah.
So next up, we've got David Krumholtz, who's playing Dr. Vincent Prochik.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. He was born in Queens to a postal worker and a dental assistant. At 13, he went with his friends to an open audition for the Broadway play Conversations with My Father and won the role of young Charlie, acting alongside Judd Hirsch, Tony Shalhoub, and Jason Biggs. Biggs also making his Broadway debut there.
Man, what a cast.
Yeah.
Seriously, I love all of them.
I know, it's kind of crazy. He then had prominent roles in Family Fare, Life with Mikey, Addams Family Values, and the first two Santa Claus movies where he was the sarcastic head elf. The Tim Allen ones, obviously.
Addams Family Values is another great movie.
Krumholtz was principal cast in a few short-lived TV series around this time. Then he broke out of the children's movie genre in the late 90s with roles in The Ice Storm, Slums of Beverly Hills, 10 Things I Hate About You, and Liberty Heights. Around this time, he was also landing prominent guest star roles in shows like ER, Freaks and Geeks, Undeclared, and Lucky, which was the weird FX John Corbett star vehicle.
Weird.
And then he landed in Numbers, where he played Charlie Epps for 6 seasons, finishing his run the season before this episode of SVU was shot. He was the lead in the short-lived CBS sitcom Partners, where Sophia Bush played his fiancée. He was main cast in The Playboy Club, The Lion's Den, Gigi Does It, which he co-created, The Deuce, Living Biblically, and The Plot Against America. He's also had recurring roles in The Newsroom, The League, The Good Wife, and Mom. You've probably seen him in the films Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, Ray, Serenity, Superbad, Walk Hard, The Dewey Cox Story, Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay, A Very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas, The Big Ask, This Is the End, The Judge, Hail Caesar, Ghost Team, Wonder Wheel, A Futile and Stupid Gesture, and The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Or if you're Adam, you've seen him at South by.
Yeah, I've run into him on the street. Yeah, it was after some like A&E party or something that I was working. And I was like, oh shit, there's Numbers. But I didn't actually talk to him. He was like looking at his phone or something like that. But he did like look like in real life. He's the David Krumholtz you see on TV. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. Next up, we've got Rosemary Harris, who's playing Francine Brooks. She was born in Ashby, Suffolk, England in 1927. Her father was Royal Air Force, so she spent many of her early years in India. She attended convent schools before studying at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. She started acting on stage in England in 1948 and first performed on Broadway in 1951 in Moss Hart's Climate of Eden before returning to London to make her West End debut in The 7-Year Itch. From here, she worked a ton on the stage in both the West End and on Broadway with the likes of Laurence Olivier and Peter O'Toole. She popped up in the odd movie here or there, eventually getting her first hardware, a Tony, for her performance of Eleanor of Aquitaine in The Lion in Winter in 1966. After marrying and divorcing theater director Ellis Robb, she married writer and apparent, this is per his Wikipedia page, father of Appalachian literature, John Ailey. It's not that KZT host. No, last name spelled E-H-L-E. She relocated to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and had a daughter with him, Jennifer, who grew up to be an actor as well. You've seen her, Jennifer Ailey, and things. In 1976, she won an Emmy for the BBC serial Notorious Woman, which aired in the U.S. on Masterpiece Theater. And in 1978, she won a Golden Globe for her performance in the NBC miniseries Holocaust, which also starred Meryl Streep and James Woods. She was nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in 1994 for her turn in Tom and Viv. She was awarded another Lifetime Achievement Tony relatively recently and was nominated for 8 more Tonys over her career. And she won 5 Drama Desk Awards and 2 Obies. So she's very celebrated in the theater world. You've seen her as Aunt May in the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. She's also in The Boys from Brazil, The Bridge, Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet, The Gift, Being Julia, This Means War, and Before the Devil Knows You're Dead.
Yeah.
Next up, Amanda Fuller, who's playing Emma Brooks, the granddaughter and killer. Yeah. She was born in Sacramento, graduated from Notre Dame High School in Sherman Oaks, used to drive by that fucking place all the time. She was a kid actor, showing up in a bunch of TV movies and series through her teenage years, but like in one-offs on the TV shows. Probably most notably, she was Eve, one of the other Slayers in Buffy. I'm not going to talk about Buffy since that goddamn Joss Whedon article just came out. Fuck him.
Yeah, so the Joss Whedon news just dropped recently. Yeah. That guy's a real piece of shit.
Yeah, I mean, he was already a piece of shit, but now it's like, oh, wow, he's also...
There's like a lot more evidence. Yeah.
She had a bunch of roles in movies I've never heard of. She eventually played Brittany Murphy in the Brittany Murphy Story, which was a Lifetime movie. I've seen it.
Okay.
Not good. And she's actually pretty bad in it.
Interesting.
A couple years after this, she landed in the main cast of Last Man Standing, which she appeared in 170 episodes of, 2 of which she directed. She also had recurring roles in Life, Grey's Anatomy, and Orange is the New Black.
One of her first roles was in Don King Only in America, which is one of my all-time favorite TV movies, Josh.
She's in a lot of stuff, but like, you know that it's not a prominent role.
Yeah, absolutely not. But yeah, this Melissa Benoist,
yep.
A lot more credits than I was expecting for the consensually almost naked girl.
She's playing Ava, the girl in the open who takes off her dress and in her underwear and bra is about to jump into the fountain where our victim
the
lies.
Bethesda fountain. Yeah.
Bethesda fountain. Yeah. Melissa Benoist was born in Houston to a doctor father who her mother divorced when she was young. Her mother raised her and her 2 sisters mostly in the suburbs of Denver after the divorce. She grew up acting in community theater productions around the greater Denver area. She graduated from Arapahoe High School in Centennial, Colorado in 2007, and then moved to New York City to pursue a career in musical theater, enrolling at Marymount Manhattan College, where she switched majors from musical theater to regular theater in her sophomore year because she liked the Russian greats. She started getting small guest spots during her senior year and got her BFA the spring after this episode aired. She had guest spots in Blue Bloods, The Good Wife, CI, and Homeland. A lot of that was during that senior year. Then she auditioned for Glee, landing a recurring role in season 4 that was elevated to main cast in season 5. From there, she landed the lead role in Supergirl, where she starred for 6 seasons and 126 episodes, popping up in an additional 14 episodes of other Arrowverse shows. She's also main cast in the fantastic Waco miniseries.
Yeah.
She's in the films Tennessee, Whiplash, Band of Robbers, The Longest Ride, Lowriders, Patriots Day, Sundogs, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and Billy Boy, which she co-starred in with her then-husband Blake Jenner, who she divorced after what was later revealed on her Instagram to have been an abusive relationship. Getting a lot of that in this episode from the guest stars, which is not cool. This abuse included an incident where he hit her in the eye with an iPhone, permanently enlarging one of her pupils and causing her to have to wear an eye patch for her Supergirl fitting. In addition to suffering through an abusive marriage, she was also the victim of one of the celebrity hacking scandals where sexually explicit photos were hacked from her iCloud and posted online. She's now married to her Supergirl co-star Chris Wood, with whom she had a son in September of 2020. Next up, Dan Kohler, who's playing Whit Worley. This is his only acting role. He graduated from Northwestern and was in the Blue Man Group. He launched RenegadeKitchen.com in 2009, eventually landing on Hallmark's Home and Family, where he started as a kitchen specialist before getting the bump up to supervising producer in 2017, where I believe he's still working. Next up, John Keating, who's playing Sassoon. He's from Tipperary, Ireland. He won the 2019 Callaway Award for Best Actor in a Classical Role, performed in New York for his work in the O'Casey cycle at Irish Rep.
That was way too much Irish shit just thrown at me all at once, Josh.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Tons of it. But in New York. You may have seen him in the films The Boxer, Freedom, The Lone Ranger, and First Cow. He had a recurring part in Boardwalk Empire and the John Adams miniseries. He's also done quite a bit of book narration for Penguin Random House. Just got a couple more here. We've got Ebby Bassi, who's playing Denny Gam, the mother of the child who committed suicide because he could not kick his soda habit. She was born in the Bronx and raised in Calabar, Nigeria, which is the reverse of what you usually hear on these.
Yeah.
She studied Meisner technique at the William Esper Studio. She produced, starred, and co-wrote the short film Siri Oko Fo, Mending Fences. which debuted at the 2008 Cannes Film Festival Short Film Corner. This is her fourth and final SVU appearance, and we've seen her before in Taboo, which we covered back in Munch My Benson episode 52. It's going to be really hard for her to find more afterbirth for her Voracious Angel, where she was an ACS caseworker. She was just in 3 episodes of Flatbush Misdemeanors as Ichioma last year. That show's actually delightful. Really liked it. I've seen everything, everybody. So when I say that someone hasn't been in something interesting, that's coming from someone who has seen everything ever made. Penultimate guest star we're talking about is Lucy Owen, who's playing Lindsey Elding.
Yeah.
Very few credits, honestly. She had recurring roles on The Loudest Voice, $1, Billions, and 7 Seconds. She was also in Miss Sloane, Ricky and the Flash, and will be starring in the indie feature Game for Motel Room, which looks to be coming out this year and next. And lastly, we've got Hadley Delaney, who's playing Aubrey Elding, the daughter in The Video. She was born in New York, made her Broadway debut at the age of 8 in Impressionism, alongside Jeremy Irons and Joan Allen. She also played Lily, Louie's daughter, in 32 episodes of Louie.
Yeah, shit. Yeah.
That's it.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
So now we have to talk about this episode. Now, there's a lot of mushroom talk in this.
Yeah, a lot of mushroom talk. I didn't do any mushroom research for this.
I did so much mushroom research, Josh. I should get like an auditing credit for some mycology degree. You know what I mean? Because I know all about various genuses of mushrooms, all kinds. I know how to prepare them safely and how not to. But let's just go top to bottom, and I'll talk about the mushrooms once we get there.
Yeah. So in the first 45 seconds of this episode, we see 2 women clad in just lingerie. First, we get Supergirl stripping down in public to titillate the audience. Then we get a second submerged underwater, dead. So they wasted no time in doling out a boner killer.
This show does not let us enjoy consensual nudity in any form, right? Because immediately, like, we see her wearing bra and panties, and I guess they're going to go have sex in an extremely public place, like even in the middle of the night. That's an extremely public place.
It's in Central Park.
Right in the middle of Central Park. It's one of the most, if not the most famous place in Central Park.
Yeah. One of the John Wick movies fucking ends there.
It's the boathouse is like right around the corner from there. There's a cafe there. You get a drink.
Yeah.
If you want to get a pedicab, you get them there. If you want to get a horse and buggy ride, you get them there. If you want to get a hot dog, you get them right there. Everything is right there. And even in the middle of the night, there are lots of people running past there, or homeless people kind of lurking about around there. It's not exactly where 2 preppy white kids are going to have a late night rendezvous.
Unless you're really a sexual thrill seeker, in which case that's absolutely the place that you would do that.
This is supposed to be essentially October 5th or so, I think. The timeline comes up later. October 5th, yes, is the day after the body was found. Night of October 4th. And it's usually cool at night. I don't know. Probably too cool to be comfortable running around in your bra and panties in the middle of Central Park.
Yeah, but if you're about to get your fuck on.
It's true.
You know.
Now, my biggest problem with this scene, right, besides the obvious boner followed by immediate boner kill, is they're out there from the middle of the night until daybreak, because that's when the police are there.
I have quite a few notes about this.
She had a dress. Like, she just took it up and threw it off to her right. She couldn't put it on.
Oh, yeah. No, and like, I paused it to, I was like, wait, those straps are just the bra straps that we're showing. I went back, I had to rewind it the second time I watched, because I was like, no, the straps of the dress were definitely covering the bra straps. So, the fucking dress that she discarded a mere 20 yards away never comes back on. She is draped in a wool blanket after this. The fucking bad Cabbage Patcher is sitting there trying to check out her ass the whole time, which you would not have been able to do in that dress. It's not like the dress was like some form-hugging, like... No. It was basically a fucking summer dress.
Yeah, it's like a summer dress, but not even like a clingy one. It was...
flowing, loose.
Now, the thing is, she was the one trying to create the liaison, right? She was forcing the matter. And then afterwards, I mean, I guess her boner was killed because she's the one who almost jumped into the water with a corpse.
Right.
I could see that would kill the mood.
Do you think it was the cold light of day shining a light on this guy, or do you think it was the janky-ass Cabbage Patch that was like the nail in the coffin for him being able to really embark on this budding exhibitionist relationship?
I think that maybe the Cabbage Patcher might have some deep, dark things to get into next time he sees his psychologist, Josh, because it seems to me like he wasn't even ready to get down until he saw a lifeless corpse floating in the water.
He's gonna have some fucked up kinks now.
Yeah.
And you know she realizes, Melissa Benoist herself realizes there is no fucking reason for me, because it is hours later. Like, they shot the one scene at night and the next scene in the morning in the cold light of day, and it is, it looks like it's probably 9 a.m. It's not like that new morning light or anything. Time has passed, and she is stuck in her bra. She maybe is wearing shorts or whatever, but she's wearing the bra. You can see the straps.
She's in
huddled up in a wool blanket, but she's going to anyone who will listen. Anyone in the AD department, like, can I put the dress back on?
Can I just put the dress on?
Do I really need to be here in a bra? And someone said, nope, need you in the bra.
How many different conversations were had about that? Like, she goes up to some AD, and they've all got their earpiece on. It's going up the chain. It's coming back down the chain. An hour is spent discussing whether she should put her dress back on.
It's ludicrous. It's so ludicrous.
And that's not even the most ludicrous thing in this scene, because next we get the CSU tech, I guess. She's a CSU tech.
Well, we actually get that before. It's CSU tech first, and she says...
So I'm guessing that the fountain washed away any evidence.
Yeah, on the outside, but I got blood and semen in her hoochie hoo. I'm sorry, I sometimes forget that they're people.
This lady is a trained forensic examiner. They have a vocabulary to discuss these things. She also thinks it's weird that somebody drowned in a foot of water. Every first aid class I've ever been to said, people can drown in as little as 4 inches of water, or whatever it is. You hear that every time.
Then, did you notice when we get a close-up of, like, where they're showing that the hair was cut? You can totally see, like, involuntary movement in the neck.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Fantastic.
I was just looking at how weird the wig looked that she was wearing that had the haircut from it. Her wig looked very weird. Every scene she's acting in.
Yeah, for sure. Because, like, the scene where they're showing the SexProwl video, same.
SexProwl.
Okay, so it's a wild open. We hit the credits, and then by the 3:18 mark, if you're watching on like Hulu or whatever, counting intro and credits, we've already got Benson going out undercover on a hair cutting fetishist sting. This is breakneck pacing.
Well, and you didn't watch the episode right before this. I do not remember what happened to the old precinct.
I fast forwarded through it just to see like what had happened, because when I went back and read the episode before on Fandom, it just left too many questions.
Yeah, exactly. I skimmed it and I was like, I'm not seeing what I want to see.
In the episode before this, the pipes burst and the precinct was flooded. The contractor was under investigation for shady dealings, and they were talking about having to do all this shit with the foundation. So they had to work out of a mobile command center for much of the episode. And this is like where they're relocated after. But I didn't watch the whole episode, so I don't know what happened at the end. I just saw them taking all of their shit out and saying that that was going on.
Before we get further on Sassoon, I just want to say that Bethesda Terrace is very much in the middle of Central Park.
Wouldn't be far from the shitbird's place on 72nd and 5th?
74th and Broadway and 5th Avenue, rather, is where his place is supposed to be. It is 72nd Street is what would have been a road that went through the park, but it's been turned into like a pedestrian area. That's where the fucking horse and buggies go. So that's 72nd. But where they pick up Sassoon, who apparently prowls Central Park and is known in that part of the park, is definitely not Central Park. I'm almost positive I didn't have tons of time to go Google photoing.
Because you fell down a mushroom rabbit hole?
I had a lot of mushroom work to do, and I knew it. But I'm almost positive that that is at the Hudson River Park at the Chelsea Piers, which is very close to SVU's studios. Yep. So I think that they could just run out there with a bare bones its crew and, sort of with a handful of extras.
Yeah, especially since they seem to have moved everything there.
Exactly.
I did think the lullaby alibi bit was kind of funny.
Oh, very funny. This whole Sassoon red herring, the whole episode we did last week could have fit into the Sassoon red herring in this week's episode.
Oh, yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we got these buffalo people who are murdering their baby.
I think this episode used up all the plot for that one.
Basically, yeah.
Even though it's a different showrunner. So
Banana Trama.
Yeah, he said he went to Banana Trama, and Elliot apparently lives to check out the alibis at cross-dressing clubs. Also, the show is still happening in the days where they could toss around transvestite and no one would bat an eye.
Yeah, I mean, in 2010, cops were definitely saying that, and I guess you could say that on TV. You definitely wouldn't use that terminology nowadays.
Yeah, that is not the preferred nomenclature, dude.
No, not at all.
Yeah, cross-dressing. BT dubs.
Yeah, Sassoon, he cut, I forget her name. I didn't write down her names, but...
Lindsey.
No, the dancer.
Oh, shit, Miss Tracy? No, Miss Terry.
Miss Terry, that's what it was. So...
Miss Tracy was the proprietor of a restaurant in Marfa Interlingua that disappeared.
Weird.
That if Chad ever listens to this episode, he'll appreciate that I had a slip and called her Miss Tracy instead of Miss Terry.
Poor thing. And then we kind of have a hard pivot to the most, we talk about Poochie characters, but I don't think we've ever had a Poochie character like Mika Vaughn before.
Okay, I really think that she fucking pulled the rug out from under them while they were taping.
Mid-episode?
Seriously, that's the only explanation for this, because she comes in hot and then what the fuck? Suddenly, they're just like, you're out.
See, I didn't read that backstory, so I assumed that they were doing a joke about how many ADAs they're burning.
It was way too weird, and she's too big a name.
I know. But I thought it was like, oh, that's funny that they're doing this. They're making a really big deal about her introducing herself to everybody.
It's really fantastic. Because of what a fucking weird thing it all is, I really enjoyed her episode.
Who was the showrunner in season 12?
It was still Neil Baer. This is Neil Baer's last year.
But do you think she's getting a phone call from Tom Cruise and then just going like, Neil, I need to talk to you?
I absolutely think that is what happened.
Tom is on the phone?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Ghost Protocol was the first really fucking good Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah, definitely. It was a massive hit.
Yeah.
You got to say yes to that. But still, hilarious how this worked out.
I would have done the same fucking thing.
But it's so weird the way they introduce her, where she's like, this lady is all over the show now. She's going to run the case. She's got sass for days.
There's the whole Stabler and Benson introduce themselves by just their last names, and they won't tell her their first name. And so, apparently familiarity with an ADA is a necessity to let them know your first name.
Well, and then you can tell that Finn's got ulterior motives. He's all busting out the Odafin Tutuola.
Oh, yeah, full name. I mean, she calls him Odafin after that, oh, yeah. He is there to impress.
He's got his foot in the door, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now, when they get to Monica.
We haven't even gotten to the mime yet, Josh.
Yeah, when they get to Monica, the mime. I'm with Stabler, not Art. My question to you is, which is worse, mimes or just performance artists?
It depends on the performance art, right? Because I think there's a kind of performance art that could be meaningful and not completely full of shit. I know this guy who built this whole kind of crazy house in Austin as kind of a performance piece. And, it's learning how to do construction was part of the art project. It's like a multi-year project. And I guess I sort of get that.
But I don't feel like that is nearly as much performance art as this is.
Yeah, well, this is the kind of classic, it's Shia LaBeouf, sitting in a box and
or what is it, Marina Abramovich?
Yeah, whatever, that shit. And that's super irritating. There's another kind of performance art that's what's his name? Chris. Fuck, the guy
Chris
who
Angel?
Shot himself. No, not Chris Angel, but this guy he shot himself
freak.
on video. Yeah. I mean, I'm pro mind freak, but yeah. Anyways, I don't think in 2010 your mime act isn't art. Your mime act isn't even getting money on the street corner anymore. It's certainly not art.
Now, I feel like if it was part of a formal French clown school or something, I have a little more respect for that.
It's pronounced Clown School.
But R.I.P. Christine Baskets.
Yeah, R.I.P. Christine Baskets. Yeah,
that happened today that we're on our recording.
Man. Famous people just be dropping like flies over the last few years.
Okay, so this is what trust funds yield.
The trust fund that this mime lady is also digging into
Clearly.
got her brother a brownstone down the block from Logan Roy's house, right?
And a following on SexProwl.
So they're clearly doing okay, right? She's not trying to like support her family on the mime bit, right? She's exploring her inner monologue.
90% of artists come from this background.
Well, the ones that can do it after they're 22 years old.
Fine art? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If we're going to qualify her bit as fine art, most fine artists come from very wealthy backgrounds where hundreds of thousands of dollars could be thrown at art schools that are prestigious, expensive, and have little likelihood of yielding a living.
Well, the bigger thing is to be able to continue doing it and not being a teacher, because that's the other thing. You become a teacher and while you do your art for a lot of them, but to be able to continue doing it until you make it, which doesn't happen to that many people. Nope. That's hard. Most people don't have the Basquiat career trajectory where, you know, you're like homeless.
Lightning in a bottle, basically.
Yeah, homeless and tagging trains and then Andy Warhol discovers you. That doesn't happen to very many people.
Especially now that Andy Warhol's fucking dead.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no like tastemakers anymore, you know, which, you know, I feel like this episode kind of gets there, but I don't know if it does. Maybe that's what Cullen now is the tastemaker. So Elliot's getting in on the miming, and then she's kind of got weird makeup for a mime. I just want to like discuss her mime makeup. So she's got the normal white face, like the eyebrows and lip line and shit, but then the orange lipstick I think is an odd choice. And then what's with the scar line drawn over her left eye? What's with that? How did that factor?
I feel like that's probably a statement about construction workers coming from a detached upper crust trust funding point of view.
So pretty quickly we get to her brother. In an episode full of scene stealers, her brother steals the scene.
So he quickly shows that he's a complete piece of shit, but then he's like,
okay, me and Blondie had sex, but I sure as hell didn't rape and kill her.
Blondie? What's her real name?
She never said. She just came up to me near the reservoir and said she was hot and wet.
A stranger in the park throws herself at you because, why? You're so charismatic?
Look, the sex was consensual, okay? She even took out a tampon before we did it.
Okay. Where's the tampon?
Killer ate it. My dachshund. I had to take him to the vet.
Your dog ate your homework. You just got an F for your alibi.
Wait. I took video. Okay, I have a following.
A following?
Yeah, on SexProwl. It's the YouTube of sex.
And it's already online. Fantastic.
No, but less than 20 seconds after Elliot's doing a mime act, her brother is joking about having sex with Benson.
Oh, yeah. He's like, does he call her Olivia?
No, he's basically saying, like, you want to do to my partner what you did to that blonde lady? He's like, my reputation precedes me, I see.
But he also asks why Olivia isn't doing the interrogation, because he apparently thinks that he's going to be able to seal the deal with her, too.
I mean, he's on a hot streak.
If we want to just analyze the video for a second, there's a moment when they're showing the video where he turns the camera from her to him, you know, like, oh man, can you believe this shit? The angle and the position of the camera cannot be him shooting. No. His hand, it cannot be that far away. He'd have to have like a 6 foot long right arm.
Or it'd have to be like a fisheye lens would show on and screen. You'd see the arm. Yeah. Exactly.
For sure.
100%. I just want to again point out that we're talking about SexProwl is the website he's famous on, apparently. And as Josh is saying, he's got a film crew that walks Killer with him, Killer being his dachshund.
No, we are meant to believe that he's shooting this.
Okay. It's not physically possible. Unless he's got...
No.
Josh, no, it is possible.
Loose second unit work.
No, it is possible, because he could have one of those, what do you call the sticks?
Selfie stick?
Yeah, he's got a selfie stick.
It's 2010.
They had selfie sticks in 2010, I'm sure. Let's find them.
I don't think so.
2005, Josh.
No one used it in 2005.
Wayne Frome invented the selfie stick in 2005, 2 years before anyone had an iPhone. Became popular in 2012.
Yeah, see?
Okay.
I mean, I guess maybe he's cutting edge with selfie sticks, but The turn is not the turn that you could make with a selfie stick. The turn is absolutely a turn that you would have to make with your hand.
Yeah, it's true. And again, like in 2010, people didn't have iPhones, so it wasn't like there was like...
No, there was an iPhone.
There was, but it wasn't like, it's not like my iPhone 11 where I've actually got a good camera that I can be like looking at while I'm talking to it. That wasn't really a technology that existed. But he does have a woman wearing a strange wig walk up to him and say, "I'm hot, I'm wet, I want it now."
Which we thankfully have Stabler repeat later.
Yes.
I'm hot. I'm wet.
Because I can't wait to cut that into this episode.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
I think that this might be a fair time to start talking about muscarine and Amanita muscaria. So they're beating around the bush here because they are talking about things that would happen from a famous mushroom called Amanita muscaria, which is better known as fly agaric. It's like the classic witch's brew psychedelic mushroom from medieval Europe. It's the thing that people would go mad from, the Lewis Carroll shit. That's the mushroom they're talking about. It contains a substance called muscarine, which is the kind of toxic ingredient in many different kinds of mushrooms that are dangerous to consume. And it causes all kinds of bad effects if you take too much of it. So I did look up an experience report from somebody who did a very minor dosage of it, smoking it. Here are some of the bullet points effects analysis. This is, again, of course, off of Psychonaut Wiki. This is just, this is scratching the surface, Josh. Okay, so...
I don't doubt it.
So, increased music appreciation, quote unquote. Music sounds great. Physical euphoria. There's a nice mild euphoric body high.
Even OAR sounds great.
Yeah. Increased salivation. I'm salivating as hell. Quote unquote. Pain is somewhat suppressed, and mood enhancement. This tiny forest fellow I tried today is a great mood enhancer. Now, I did some more detailed research into muscarine toxicity, and I'll give you some of the bullet points now. So, it does a lot of things, right?
Makes you randy.
It doesn't do that. That's the thing that I could not get any...
Well, that could have been one of the other mushrooms, though, because there are 4.
I looked into all 4 mushrooms. Don't get me wrong. There's actually 5 mushrooms that get discussed in this episode because there's a different mushroom that poisons live. Sure. But the 4 that they're talking about, they're actually all genuses of mushrooms. So they talk about inocybe, clitocybe, mycena.
You said clitocybe?
I believe so. So these ones...
CLIT?
These ones are characterized by white, off-white, buff, cream, pink, or light yellow spores, gills running down the stem, and pale white to brown or lilac coloration.
Are they bean-shaped?
No, they're not bean-shaped. They don't look like little men rowing a canoe either, Josh, if you're wondering.
Okay.
Anyways, all of these genuses, there's inocybe, clitocybe, mycena, and entoloma. These are all very large genuses. Entoloma has over 1,000 species alone, and all the other ones also have large numbers of species. Most of them have both edible and toxic members of the genus, and so you would need to be more specific than just putting a picture of mycena on the...
But there's a different moment where they get into the not just genus, but also the species, right?
No, they're just talking about the genuses, because they put them up. They put them up on the screen, and they show...
Oh, yeah, I know, because then Stabler has them in his notepad later, which I thought was one of the most hilarious little things in the episode, where he flips open his notepad in the courtroom. It's like, oh my God, there were 4. Because they needed like a prompt to tell the audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the audience has surely forgot, because this fucking episode is so nuts.
So many things happened.
Yeah, like, oh wait, there were 4 mushrooms. Yeah, no, we need the visual cue to know what's going through Elliot's head, because otherwise we would not know. Because, I mean, Supergirl was almost naked, and we've already forgotten about that entirely.
Long time ago, yeah. We had a guy named Sassoon.
Her breasts almost pop out of her bra as she's pulling off her
We had a guy named Sassoon who was forcibly cutting drag performers' hair on stage.
Who seriously looks like Bob Dylan circa 1966.
And so, we have Entoloma. Mycena is cool because they have bioluminescence in many of them, which means that they glow at night, which is pretty rad. But again, many of them have both edible and toxic members of the species. Now, the toxicity in almost all of them does also come from, it's like 4 different things, because he talks about one of those things later. Shit is called, I have too many notes about this shit. Ibotenic acid. There it is. But muscarine is the kind of the general compound that we're talking about. Now, here I will read you a sort of general report about muscarine toxicity. This is from the University of Copenhagen. The usual signs and symptoms of muscarinic stimulation are exhaustion, irritability, muscular cramps, salivation, frothing, sweating, lacrimation, that means excessive tears, blurring of vision, meiosis, that means your eyesight, you have an inability to focus, bronchorrhea, which means that you produce a outlandish amount of sputum from your lungs, cough, tachypnea, bronchospasm, bradycardia, hypotension, abdominal cramps, vomiting, and diarrhea. One of the things they do not mention is increased libido.
Vaginal lubrication.
Yeah, they do not mention increased libido. And it actually has a very easy antidote, which is atropine. Atropine, it's an alkaloid that inhibits the acids in the muscarine. And so if Emma had overdosed on it, she could have easily been...
Lindsey. If Lindsey...
No. But Lindsey was probably too far away to get...
Oh, sure.
But
yeah, sorry.
Even so, actually, it takes a little while for these things to kill you. It takes like 2 days to die from these things. Now, Amanita muscaria is one that people will use recreationally. And the incredibly well-framed photos that we see of Lindsey's salad imply that what was on her salad was just one species, and that was Amanita muscaria, which it looks kind of like a portobello mushroom, but just with a bright red exterior of the cap with kind of like white dots on it. It looks like, for those of you of a very specific age, it looks like the mushroom that Sammy Davis Jr. was sitting on smoking a hookah in the live-action TV musical of Alice in Wonderland, where he played the hookah-smoking caterpillar. Now, they were able to find these 4 genus of mushrooms in her jejunum, which is the middle of her small intestine, and that's how they were able to time it correctly. One last thing, they were apparently rolling in the bushes just south of the reservoir, which is a different body of water than the Bethesda fountain is on, Josh.
Yeah.
In fact, it's like a 16-minute walk from the reservoir to the Bethesda
When you're
fountain.
that randy, time doesn't mean anything.
But she was already like, her lung function was ceasing at that point. She was drowning on her own sputum, Josh, from the muscarine toxicity.
Or
on the killer's dad's sputum.
Okay, so... All right, so I'm almost certain that there was a lower back tattoo on Lindsey, because there's more video that plays out.
Was it a paw print?
No. I think it was a butterfly, but it was hard to tell because it was sort of like blurry.
Do you think Neil was like, guys, I think we need to put a tramp stamp on this one?
See, I'm not sure if it's a choice for the screen or if it was a choice that the actress made previously in her life. But the video advances while not on screen, and she's starting to lower her skirt. And so there's a cut forward on screen. So obviously they shot a lot more. The second unit did. I really think that this video's up. But so there's an advance, and so she's unfastening her bra, and then when you see the next shot of her, she's starting to lower her skirt, and at that point it's paused, and so it's a little blurry, but it looks like there is a butterfly tattoo on her lower back.
Getting a butterfly tramp stamp when you're like 18 years old or whatever is one of those choices that you end up living with for a long time. But the nice thing I was going to say about a lower back tattoo is that it's one of those bad decisions you make as a child that you don't have to experience it as much as the people around you do. So it's fine, whatever.
It takes a lot of work to see that lower back tattoo.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're looking in the mirror.
Like, you have to do gymnastics.
Oh, yeah, man.
Now, the husband comes in right after this.
The husband comes in so hard.
He passed the guy who fucked his wife.
I totally forgotten about this husband.
He passed the guy who fucked his wife and put it up on SexProwl and then in the elevator. Or like they were ships passing in the night at least. Why the fuck would the husband take a swing at Stabler?
I don't know. But
how is it Stabler's job to stop some rando from posting a video?
Stabler's like, I don't even know who you are, man. What the fuck?
Yeah, what are you? And then he goes on and he starts talking about like, this is the Lindsey I know. It's like, his wife was coked up until a year ago.
I know, right? The Lindsey you know was trying to make Bolivians pay like their annual salary for water, basically. That's what she was trying to do.
And she had a discount on Bolivian marching powder. Let's not act like she'd been clean for a year and she's a fucking saint.
No, she wasn't clean.
And Munch questioning him like she looked high in this video. And he's indignant. Oh, she couldn't have been high.
Munch wearing his dress blues is
fantastic because he sat in wet paint. Love that.
I just want to dial it back to the video one more time because I think
I could talk about the video all day. Adam.
But they're giving us like a cautionary tale, right? So for Supergirl at the beginning of the episode, sometimes what happens is you take off your dress and you're half naked, and all that happens to you is you find a dead corpse that died from an extremely improbable and outlandish.
Sometimes, though, you are the corpse.
Yes, but most of the time you are the corpse. Exactly.
It's really fucked up that they're trying to kill a free spirit.
Oh, 100%.
What assholes.
I understand that they had to like bring up taking the tampon out to give like evidence that she didn't really want to get down with some random guy she met in the middle of the night in the middle of the park, I guess. I think that's what that is.
No. She's totally fine with fucking on her period. I don't think we're supposed to judge her. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you get hot and wet.
I'm not judging on that at all. It's fine. It's just, it's like very weird and lurid detail for SVU.
They need that to establish that the blood could have...
Oh, okay.
And then it's entirely consensual. They're finding new special ways... by having dogs eat...
I thought it was just for the laugh line about the dog ate your homework.
No. They really thought this through. I mean,
they have this up on the
fucking episode.
It is like Chinatown, right? Every detail
it's absolutely
comes back
on the board. Yep. That is on the board. That's on a pink note card.
The YouTube of sex. Yeah, Jesus Christ. So the wild thing about this, with all the kind of crazy shit going on in this episode, though,
we're like 12 minutes through this episode.
but the screenshot we see of SexProwl, it looks like a legit website. All the buttons are like buttons I would expect to see on, I guess that would be an amateur porn site.
It's supposed to be RedTube, I think.
I guess
RedTube or YouPorn or.
I did put SexProwl into a Google search field, and things that came up were an article from the mirror.co.uk that's titled "I Prowl for Sex with Strangers," a 2003 video called "Prowling for Sex," and then there's a prowl sex category on redwap.me. That's a website I've never been to, but I can assume
that is just main porn.
Yeah.
Okay, so we find out that Cola now donates jungle chimps to charity, and then we get a little soda exec on the street where he's a real shithead scene.
He looks like a real piece of shit, man. Totally by that guy, like poisoning our children.
He really looks the part. Casting, spot on.
Also, I assume his glasses were a wardrobe choice. I just want to call out wardrobe because his glasses look like the glasses of a serious piece of shit.
Good job, wardrobe.
Yeah, I mean, great. Really good job. Way to go.
Wardrobe, casting, whole 9 yards.
We call it second unit all the time. We call it art department. We don't always call it wardrobe, but they really nailed it in this episode.
When we're calling out second unit or art department, it's not always for the best reasons. This episode, I feel like all of those departments really brought it.
They brought it. Art department did a good job. Like, the art on all this stuff was professional. Now, what I have a problem with, so I feel like all of the branding work that went into this episode went into SexProwl, which all in all did not get much screen time. We've talked about it a lot more than it was on screen.
A lot.
But SexProwl was like great branding, right? Like SexProwl, it sticks in your head. Maybe I want to watch total dickheads have random sex with strangers online. I'm going to go to that website.
Apparently, at least scores of people do, because he has a following.
But Cola Now is just terrible branding in my mind.
You know what else is terrible branding? Union for Healthy Kids.
That's not a union job.
And I gotta say, again, casting nailed it with this guy, because the guy at Union for Healthy Kids was hilariously typecast as the stereotypical, down on his luck, beleaguered lefty activist.
Yeah, angry guy who graduated from law school with tons of debts and has not ever gotten close to paying them off.
He might be in his 50s and still has hundreds of thousands of dollars of student debt.
Union for Healthy Kids is in the back of a Vietnamese nail salon in the outskirts of Albuquerque.
It's 12 years later, and this guy is really desperately hoping that Biden cancels student debt. Mm-hmm. And he's almost Medicare age.
Yeah, same.
So then they cut to Davy Gams' mom. Did you get a good look at that picture?
Of Davy Gams?
Of Davy Gams, yeah.
I mean, I looked at it.
I accidentally paused it on it. This dude's got a 3-day goatee, mustache, and sideburns.
He's supposed to be 10?
Like, I know he's big, but there is literally no way in hell that this kid's any younger than 15 and he's supposed to be 12. He's got, I mean, full, like, Van Dyke, mustache, connecting goatee. Like, that is there, and it is only there because he shaved half a week
Maybe
ago.
He had some sort of pituitary disorder that was also caused by the soda.
No way, man.
I did not do any research into that.
Okay, so Lindsey's buying public sympathy to quash wrongful death suits from families whose kids committed suicide from growing depressed, from being obese, from drinking too much soda. This is the weirdest turn I think we've ever had in an episode of SVU that we've covered, and I'm here for it.
But then to have this angle be dropped almost immediately, just dropped like as quickly as Supergirl's dress. That's how quickly they dropped it.
Like, here it is. There it goes.
They dropped it like Lindsey dropped her tampon to be eaten by killer.
Well, that's the episode name. Okay, so Munch says there's a $4 billion a year subsidy for corn syrup. If you go to the EWG Farm Subsidy Database, which I went to, from 2007 until 2010, when this episode aired, you're looking at roughly $4 billion in corn subsidies. But he says corn syrup subsidies.
Well, I mean, I think he's shorthanded in here, right?
But that's playing fast and loose. He literally says corn syrup subsidies. Corn syrup is not subsidized to the point of $4 billion a year.
Yeah.
It's corn is also wasted on ethanol.
Yeah, well, exactly. But there's a reason why corn's in your gas and in every like sweet thing that you consume.
Because it's so cheap to produce, and
because we pay for it. Yeah,
we're willing to fucking ruin all of the farmland in Middle America by continuing to incentivize people only farming corn instead of rotating crops.
But like we as the taxpayers are basically funding that. We're funding the monoculture and we're funding the shittiest form of sweetener. God damn it. Well, I even missed, I took a note of this. Munch was trying to work a pedo angle on this case.
I missed this entirely.
I remember. So I think when Munch is talking to Lindsey's husband, he's trying to imply Cola Now was like preying on kids. And it's just a throwaway one-line thing.
They are, though.
Well, they are, but just in a different way than Munch is implying.
I absolutely think he's going the Joe Camel route there. I don't think he's going the pedo route.
Okay.
Because, I mean, both he and Finn are very much on the same page.
Oh, in this episode, they're very much...
To be fair, I think they're right.
Oh, 100%.
When I have to wrap my head around the idea that SVU is doing a huge anti-soda episode a full fucking 3 years before Bloomberg tried to implement the soda cap in New York. Yeah. When SVU is doing this, I mean, yes, it's ridiculous, but I still have to say they're right.
Yeah, no, they are right. Soda's empty of all value. It's just sweet.
Now, I will say that despite the fact that I maybe have like a soda a week on average, I did, while I was watching this episode, crack open a Dr.
Nice.
Pepper.
How was it? Was it delicious?
it's fucking fantastic.
Did you think about the Cochabamba water wars while you were drinking it, Josh?
Totes. Now, did you look into Bolivia and the water wars?
I did, yeah, a little. I didn't do an extremely deep dive, but I did.
Because you already knew that you spent 20 minutes.
Oh, longer than that.
Or you spent
like an
what
hour
was going to be
looking-
20 minutes of podcast time on mushrooms?
I haven't even spent all my mushroom time yet, Josh. I have a whole
I'm
nother
sure you
mushroom
have not.
segment. The next mushroom will be much quicker, but it's fascinating. So we will get there when we get there.
Okay, cool.
Oh, Jesus Christ. We haven't even gotten to fucking Krumholtz yet. But we have one more ridiculous character that gets introduced before we get to Krumholtz, and that's the grandma with her teeter-totters and her anti-gang clubhouses. It's a mad world that this episode inhabits. It's fucking madness.
It takes Aunt May from working class to the blue bloodiest of upper crust and makes her a monster. It's
So
pretty
this
amazing.
lady's grandfather installed the first teeter-totters in Central Park in 1907, and she has a fucking British royalty accent. And she's been living on the Upper East Side for her entire life?
Well, that's the old Mid-Atlantic.
That's not the Mid-Atlantic, Josh.
I know, I'm joking.
I've seen Sunset Boulevard. I know the Mid-Atlantic, Josh.
I've listened to Katharine Hepburn talk.
Yeah.
I know the Mid-Atlantic accent. Okay, so when they're at the Brooks domicile.
The Brooks abode.
It seems like Emma could have made sure to skip the picture of Prochik.
Well, like, it was very handy for investigators looking at those photos ex post facto.
The handiest.
To have...
They're timestamped.
They're timestamped.
And literally, like, I think I said scores in the recap, but they're literally hundreds of fucking pictures.
And we're talking about, like, photos that are framed to have Lindsey's face in the upper right corner of the frame and the very noticeably not edible mushrooms in the lower left-hand corner of the photo. Like it's perfect frame job. And most mushrooms they eat, none that I've ever eaten, have a bright red exterior on them, because that is one of those kill a fellow kind of mnemonics that you think of. I'm thinking of coral snakes. That rhyme.
I did not know where you're going with the mnemonic.
Yeah, red on yellow, kill a fellow, red on black, venom lack. That's the coral snake mnemonic.
Which a friend of the pod, Georgia, is familiar with.
Yeah, so if you are a teenage girl near a body of water and you happen to see a snake...
Working at ski shores, perhaps?
You happen to see a snake with very colorful bands across its body, don't fuck with that thing. Leave it alone, because a friend of the pod, Georgia, almost died because of that. But again, generally, things that are bright red in nature, it means that they're scary and you don't want to get anywhere near them.
Like strawberries.
Yes.
Okay, so I did enjoy the Liv talking random nonsense.
Oh.
Like I stabbed the captain with a pickle.
Oh, great.
Shit.
Yeah.
I thought that was really
fantastic. Love the freak out.
And then there was the fan service of getting to have like Elliot catch her and hold her. And
cradle her.
Everyone filled in the gaps like, oh yeah, he kissed her.
Cradle her. He did some mouth to mouth to keep her going. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so what she is said to have ingested is gyromitra, which is false morals. False morels. Sorry, not false morals.
Same difference.
False morels. Morel mushrooms, of course, are a very expensive, highly desirable mushroom that you put in your pastas. Now, gyromitra is also edible as long as you take certain precautions.
It's like eating blowfish.
Kind of, yeah. So you have to parboil them. So you have to boil them, dump the water, boil them again, dump the water, and then cook them one more time. And then you can eat them.
Does parboil mean thrice boil?
Well, no, it just means you have to do it a few times, and you have to dump out the water.
Okay, there's no count.
It's not a specific count, because what's interesting about them, so there's this one particular species that is in question. Now, they're from like Scandinavia, so I don't think that our mycologists would be into it. I really think they just fit him into the South American thing just so he could get angry about the Bolivian water issue. But because really all the mushrooms they're talking about, classically, they're talking about like northern hemisphere cold weather mushrooms, whether it's fly agaric or false morels. Now, false morels, the weird thing about them, which is really interesting to me, is that same species will have different levels of toxicity based on geography. So there's some evidence that higher elevation mushrooms have less toxicity than lower elevation mushrooms, and that mushrooms west of the Rocky Mountains in the United States will have lower toxicity than mushrooms east of the Rocky Mountains.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. And it's not fully understood, at least the little research that I did. They are one of the most commonly ingested toxic mushrooms because novice mushroom hunters will mistake them for the real thing.
Hence false morals.
The real thing, of course, is probably the second most expensive or most desirable mushroom next to, of course, black truffles.
Which you just saw.
Bringing it back, our podcast is kind of like this episode. No detail goes unused, and people will eat the wrong ones all the time.
No detail goes unused.
Because in the case of these mushrooms, oftentimes, say you're in the woods in Oregon, on the slopes of Mount Hood somewhere, and you're several hours away from your car or certainly from a hospital, and you eat the wrong mushroom, you can die from it. You have some time, but you have to get going. Now, the toxicity from this one does not cause the kind of psychedelic reaction that Amanita muscaria might cause. So it's a little off base the way they have Liv saying, beat her with a pickle. It's a gastrointestinal prodrome occurring more than 5 hours after ingestion. Acute liver injury can occur over the next 2 days in a significant percentage of cases, and acute kidney injury may occur to a lesser degree. It does have a nervous system toxicity. Confusion is the characteristic, so I guess that does make some sense, and seizures are a common side effect. Apparently, inhaling the gas from it does give you a good dose of that. So what I want to say is, what the fuck is Liv doing just opening a random fucking pot in a mycologist laboratory?
Sure.
Jesus Christ, yeah. Liv, have you never taken a chemistry lab? You never go and smell something unless you know that it's okay, right?
She didn't even smell it. Like, she took the lid off the pot.
We already know that this guy's dealing in toxic mushrooms.
I think it's fair to say that we can close the second of, I hope, our last mushroom segment with...
Fungi should never hurt anyone.
But mushrooms keep coming back, Josh.
But truer words have never been spoken.
Guys, if you want to do psychedelic mushrooms, just wait till they're legal in Colorado or whatever and just go buy them there. Don't go mushroom picking. Leave it to the professionals who have pigs.
I really like that you're jumping way ahead and just, hey, shitheads. Everyone who's listening wants to get fucked up. And, we just did the DMT episode too. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we get Prochek in interrogation, it is the fucking weirdest thing ever.
His rants are amazing. I didn't take detailed notes.
They're great.
Amazing.
And as a borderline insane leftist, I think a lot of what he's saying makes sense, but it's also like jazz ranting.
Oh, yeah.
Where it really feels like he is just pulling shit from wherever, and he's playing the notes that are coming to him.
They asked him to go big, and he went big.
Yeah. And to be fair, you write this character, and you're like, who do I want for this?
You want David Krumholtz, especially with that beard.
Yeah, here in 2010.
Yeah, that beard Krumholtz is perfect for this.
Yeah, 2010, just post numbers Krumholtz. That's what you want. You've basically written this role for Krumholtz. It's a Krumholtzian role.
It is Krumholtzian. But do you think he went Kendall Roy and went all Mad Hatter before he performed in this?
It feels like he sort of disappeared for 5 years and then, is starting to come back. So maybe.
Subtle and the gross, detective. Gross isn't big. Like gross profit. Have you ever been on a beach?
Listen, watch us. He keeps doing these sudden mental pivots.
Waves quietly lapping, and a boombox starts blaring. Man so readily wrecks nature's peace because nature is delicate, and we're so heavy-handed. It's disgusting, as you say.
We need to talk about Lindsey Elding.
I am. Don't you see? Water is subtle. It goes. Lindsey's corporations go, mine! 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 Mine!
And you want Lindsey to die.
I didn't kill her.
Now, he fires his lawyer, Dave Seaver.
Dave Seaver, highly professional lawyer. Obviously, we know him. We love him.
And then immediately thereafter, Mika Vaughn gets fired. Should we read anything into the fact that there are 2 black lawyers and they're each fired in this episode? Is this episode racist?
I was trying to tell Megan that I thought it was a joke about how SVU was burning through ADAs. And she said,
lawyers?
Oh, it's because she's black, isn't it? Yeah, no. But
well, they just fired the extremely competent Dave Seaver. Nothing that Dave Seaver did.
No, David Seaver
warranted his dismissal.
Was incredibly competent. He probably was competent in Chicago too, and he was definitely competent here. But I think this is just to set up a no one is worse than a public defender kind of little note, which they just like to slip in these things.
And if no one's worse than a public defender, certainly no one looks more strung out than a public defender.
Because, okay, so the murderer in this episode is not portrayed nearly as badly as the public defender is.
No. He is bought off with the prospect of a vacation.
In a quote-unquote sun-drenched loft in famously sunny Chicago in October.
Now, to be fair...
To be fair.
That actually sounds delightful to me. I would gladly stay in her loft in Chicago.
October's a great time of year to be there. You know, the weather's changing. It's not cold yet.
And if you have to get fired from the New York District Attorney's office, if your consolation is just getting to go back to Chicago in your sun-drenched loft... Fine.
Go into defense work. Seriously. What are you doing, man? You already got the loft. Live it up.
I want there to be a spin-off episode about
Mika Potts' apartment. Maybe she stays in New York and it's like an Airbnb thing. You know, nobody's done an Airbnb show, Josh. Do something like what
about that Chicago Home Reno show on HGTV? I'd love to see them do Mika Von's Loft.
Yeah, that would be great. And just like every episode have a different group of people staying there. They have antics. You know, it's like that weed dealer show on HBO. You know, kind of do
high maintenance, which is fucking amazing. High maintenance is so
you have like the host kind of bring people in and show people around and maybe do the cleanup at the end.
Yeah. But on HGTV.
Yeah, no, dude, it's this is Showtime. This is Showtime, dude.
Okay, cool. They've got to fill in for Shameless and fucking Dexter, which they just tried to bring back and are apparently only doing one season.
Nips are fine, no dong. You know, it's Showtime.
No. They should go Righteous Gemstones rules and just go dongs every episode. There's a dong in episode by design. By design, hilarious dongage.
So I love the judge's Putnam County Fair roses anecdote that he...
Oh, fantastic. Love the judge, who I was going to talk about this episode. We'll talk about him when we hit the next one. Because
we've seen him before, I think.
No, we have not yet.
So we have not gotten to the Cochabamba Water War. Very quickly. So in 1997, the World Bank mandated that Bolivia had to allow its water supplies to be privatized as a condition for a loan from the World Bank. And in 1999, Bechtel Corporation, which is a huge American...
Not to be confused with the Bechtel test.
And not to be confused with the Schmechtel Corporation from Spies Like Us. The Bechtel Corporation is one of these extremely shady military-industrial complex adjacent firms that does all kinds of bad things all over the world, kind of like KBR, Halliburton. Same kind of business. Their business is everything as long as it's bad. Anyways, Bechtel was going to privatize the water in the third largest city in Bolivia. It's called Cochabamba. In November 1999, people said, fuck that, and sparked 6 months of violent protests. Several dozen people were injured. 6 people died. And at the end of it...
Power to the fucking people.
Yeah, exactly. And Bolivians don't fuck around. They're small, they live at high altitude, and they are angry. And after 6 months of violent protests, Bechtel said, we're backing out of this deal in April 2000. I could go into much more detail. I did not read too much about it, so I can't answer questions about it. But I can say this, the World Bank is bad. And generally speaking, when they offer loans, it's a loan with a gun to your head. They give loans to people that have no recourse and...
with insanely penurious fucking conditions.
As we've already discussed, the fall of communism in Romania was highly tied to World Bank loans.
Yeah.
And that's also why it was so violent, was part of the World Bank's shenanigans. So fuck them. Moving on. Season opener at the Garden, Josh.
This episode was so chock full that I couldn't fucking even be bothered to look into that.
I looked it up. So this episode takes place between October 5th and October 9th, 2010. The Knicks season opener was in Toronto on October 27th. A home opener was October 30th versus Portland.
So this is at least the second time they've played fast and loose with Knicks history and been wildly
wrong.
Because it also happened when we talked about Choice, the Josie Bissett episode.
So Rick Aiello, R.I.P., right? Didn't he just die?
Yeah,
Rick Aiello, he just died. Pancreatic cancer in July 28th. Yeah, R.I.P.
R.I.P.
One of the sleaziest roles we've seen on a show full of sleazy roles. But anyways, he saw Allen Houston foul out of a game, which is in the third quarter.
In the third quarter.
Preposterous.
Never happened. Bullshit. Okay, Grandma sucks. And if Liv had been raised by Granny, she would have turned to drugs also. Then we get to the courtroom. Stabler looks at the bizarre pictures of 4 mushrooms in his notepad, which are pasted in there. But his faux shroom fume faux shroom fume meltdown.
His shroom fume fume state is what you're saying. His shroom fume fume state.
Sure. Great work.
Oh, just fantastic. Really good work. Like, main cast, all of them were doing great shit. Each and every one of them did some good shit. Here's my problem, though, Josh, and I meant to bring this up with the mushroom thing. Last thing I'll talk about mushrooms. If Emma had consulted with Krumholtz, he would have told her it doesn't matter how many varieties of mushrooms you use, because they all contain the same toxic ingredients. So one would have been the same as 5, right? There's no difference.
She didn't want to implicate him, though.
But she didn't want to implicate him by choosing a cause of death that's hilariously only attached to like 3 guys in the state of New York, you know? Oh, my God.
So Prochik has a terrible poker face. Tips them off to Emma. And then to add to the no poker face, he's also got 0 fucking tradecraft. Yeah. Because he breaks away. They are in sight. Stabler and Benson are seriously like at his 9 o'clock.
Yeah, he's running away from them and they're just like right there while he's running.
He knows who they are. He just saw them. They're the police officers who were just questioning him about anyone that he might have known who was at that party.
But so they followed him from the Supreme Court.
From Shroomtown.
From the Supreme Court of New York building.
No. He wasn't at court. He was at his lab.
Oh, he was at his lab. Okay, so they followed him across the park. So they followed him from Shroomtown.
Shroomtown is on the park.
Yeah, Shroomtown, it is. It's just it's on the west side because he was at the Natural History Museum. Sure. They followed him from there over to Jima's house to the, I forget what their name is.
Brooks.
The Brooks Estate across the park. 531 Fifth Avenue, which is actually not across the park. It's in Midtown, and it is where a Best Buy is located, Josh. I did look that up, and I'm remembering that.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, so, God damn it. He's obviously in love with Emma.
We're so long. This is going to be the longest episode we've ever recorded.
I'm trying to go fast. So, the Mika Vaughn firing is hilarious, though, right?
Great. So then, at this point, they bust in on Prochik talking to Emma in the sort of foyer, if you will, of this massive New York estate.
Yeah, I think the landing.
They are in interrogation from 33:04. So 33 minutes and 4 seconds into this episode, if you're watching on Hulu, which I assume most of you did, they are in interrogation until the 38:25 mark. 5.5 minutes. Then Stabler has to catch his second shroom-poisoned woman in an interrogation room in this episode. Which, if you'd asked me 94 episodes ago if I would ever say that sentence, I would have said, fuck you.
The thing is, Josh, this episode, by 33 minutes in, this episode has burned through 10 plots that were more substantial than the plot we covered last week.
Yeah,
for an entire episode.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Like, holy shit.
No wonder they didn't have any material for season 13. They used it all in season 12, Josh.
This is the sort of insanity that happens when you get a showrunner who's been on a show for 11 fucking years. It's crazy. This is the most insane fucking episode.
This is a true auteur at the height of his craft, is what you're saying. This is like
yes, absolutely.
This is Fellini midway through the production of 8.5. You know, they are like floating through traffic right now.
This is PTA in Phantom Thread. This is Paul Thomas Anderson in Phantom Thread, where he is so comfortable with the knowledge that he knows what he's doing and can just sit there in little moments and revel in the brilliance that he knows he's putting on screen. And in 33 minutes of screen time, wherein there are the 20 seconds of open and the entire opening credits, which are like 50 seconds long. So really, 32 minutes. Neil Bear has burned through, 10? 15 episodes worth of television.
I mean,
of plot.
Yeah.
And
it's a bravura performance by the writing staff.
Amazing.
I think we can go through this part pretty fast, though, because this is the most traditional.
I have a note after this. I have one note after the 33-minute mark, and we've been talking for 2 hours.
Same.
Francine comes to the hospital to take her necklace back, and then we get the weird-ass nobody's perfect button.
Yeah. But I do like the line, "You are not my grandchild. I only came for my intaglio."
Which she pronounced differently both times.
I know. And then she says, "Just like you would never wreck my Mercedes or lose your virginity at 15 or stuff that."
I mean, really, that was a part that irritated me the most.
Who is letting their grandma know that they lost their virginity at 15 years old?
I mean, granted, her parents died when she was 10, so...
Yeah.
But who cares? 15's probably a little early, but not
15's a little early when you're old, but is it that early when you're 15? I don't know. It's not for me to say anymore.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Anyway.
Nobody's perfect, but this SVU might be, and we'll find out after we rank it.
It might be.
So obviously we rank these episodes.
I mean, holy shit, what a ride, right?
This is a wild ride. This is one of the wildest rides we've been taken on.
I mean, Hooked happened. We watched Hooked.
It was not as wild as this.
We watched Web.
It was not as wild as this. This is the wildest ride that I've been taken on, I think, as a member of this podcast. I'm trying to think.
It's holy shit.
We've had some weird shit happen, but I don't know that we've had like such a just front to back madness that we've seen in this one.
There are 5.5 minutes in interrogation where we already know what's happened, and we're still glowing. We're basking in the glow of this episode.
Yeah. So obviously, again, we rank these. We rank on quality. We rank on guests. We rank on how problematic it was. And we rank on the depth and breadth of lives ruined. With all of these categories, we're trying to come up with a composite score so we can put this up against all the other episodes that we've seen. This is our 95th episode of SVU that we've covered for this podcast. We are getting to have a fairly big list.
We're like 20% of the way through.
It's crazy. Yeah, roughly 20%, exactly. Now, of course, these new seasons are popular enough that they're not getting canceled. These assholes. Let's start with the quality. I have a number in my mind.
Hey.
Do I need...
It's a 10.
It's a 10. This is an easy 10.
It's a 10. Easy 10. Hard 10. Wet 10. This is a wet 10.
This is the most bonkers episode of SVU that I've seen in years. I know that there are other bonkers ones out there, but yeah, this is a 10.
Mushrooms, soda.
But it had like 10 different soda plot angles. Like it had like all the soda angles wrapped up in one. Fantastic.
This is what we...
This is why we made this podcast.
Yes.
Because of this.
Yeah, and it doesn't have the stunt casting shit going for it, but it has the insanity angle on lockdown.
Okay, so Krumholtz isn't stunt casted, but he brings it on a high level. He is mega Krumholtz here, right? He is like taking everything he learned. Another auteur, right? This is like 11 seasons of SVU allows Neil Baer to have the confidence to just say, yeah, every soda angle you've got, we're putting in this episode. Krumholtz being on Numbers for 6 seasons goes, yeah, I can be crazy and smart at the same time, and I'm going to go over the top in a way that was inappropriate in Numbers. Like, I'm not autistic anymore. I'm fucking crazed like the Mad Hatter.
Now, do we need to mention that this is also written by Speedweed?
It sure is. I feel like Speedweed might have had some personal experiences that informed.
Whenever you see Speedweed, you see that screen capped fairly frequently. There's cause, and this episode is the reason for that. Now, the director of this episode is Jonathan Kaplan, who directed Night Call Nurses, The Student Teachers, The Slams, Truck Turner.
Oh, really? He directed Truck Turner?
Truck
fucking Turner. Truck Turner, Isaac Hayes, that is a golden song. I love that song.
That soundtrack is fucking incredible.
So, Josh, guess. What do we call this?
9.
I think that's about right.
It's not stunt casting, but there are like 5 who are just completely bring it.
They all bring it.
Yeah, I'm on record as not having liked Amanda Fuller in the Brittany Murphy story, but she's fucking great.
I mean, but you're talking about a Lifetime movie, Josh. It's not exactly.
No. Like, I very distinctly remember her being the thing that I did not like about the Brittany Murphy story. Yeah,
but she was good in this. She was good, and I bought her the whole way through.
Paula Patton's great. Krumholtz is fucking great. Zach Grenier, the judge, great. Boatman, great.
The husband, like, again, just like mega, just like no warm up, balls to the wall.
We haven't even talked about the fucking Academy Award nominee, 9-time Performance Tony nominee, who has won one and won a Career Achievement Award. We didn't even talk about Rosemary Harris.
Yeah.
She's great.
She's great. She's loathsome.
John Keating, who's playing Sassoon.
Yeah, fucking fantastic.
Melissa Benoist, who is asked to strip down to her bra and panties and does so
gleefully.
Yes.
After she is cabbage patching a thing? Is that a dance?
Yeah, the cabbage patch is a dance. Okay. But yeah, I say it's 9.
I like 9. Yeah, that 9.
The only reason that it's not a 10 is because it's not the stunt castiest.
It's not the stunt castiest episode, and it's not like Stephen Ray giving us a brilliant performance. It's not that.
Even after the edit, I probably spent at least 15 minutes talking about the guest stars.
They were good.
You know, so it's not like stunt casting, but there are a lot of actors in this episode who
they were all good.
Either were established or go on to be very high profile actors.
And even if they weren't like Stephen Ray, everybody was having fun making this episode. Like every single person had fun making this. And there's a lot to be said for that. Now, was it problematic?
Yes.
I think it's problematic in the way that we enjoy. I mean, SexProwl.
In the way that's delightful.
SexProwl, like the way that they're just burning through plot is kind of problematic.
The fact that they have
Sassoon,
Sassoon and future Supergirl stripped down.
Is this another 10 though? That's what I'm asking. Is this another 10?
I don't think it's a 10, but it's at least an 8. 8 at a minimum.
There's so much going on here. Like, I think it's another 9. It's having so much fun.
I'm fine with
I mean, we have both main characters go on a like crazed rant for different reasons. We have Krumholtz going on a crazed rant for like 10 minutes in interrogation.
We have Liv's hair acting as bait in a UC sting where she is in the park talking about how she just had her hair done. And then Stabler swoops in at the last moment and saves her.
In the first 10 seconds, we have consensual almost nudity, followed up immediately by dead body nudity, and also reinforced by what happens right before dead body nudity on that Total Creep Show's vlog, which that guy alone...
We also have Melissa Benoist being required to hours later strip back down to her bra and be under a fucking blanket because we have to be sure as the viewer that she has not been able to put her dress back on, which was discarded 20 yards away.
Kaplan is a Dogburn 95 director, so he doesn't allow his actresses to reclothe themselves or go into the trailer during the 5 hours it took them to reset that scene. So it's like...
I mean, that's just logic.
Yeah, so it's like, if you want to get the most out of Benoist, you leave her out in the cold under a very thin blanket for the whole day.
This is probably what got her Supergirl. It's the Dog Me 95, like, making your bones, doing the work that happened here.
Well, and the fact that, like, you know, Lars von Trier, most actresses that work for him don't act again, right? That's a thing.
That's not fair. Kirsten Dunst is still
I know. And okay, most of them are.
It's just Bjork who he decided that he was going to say Bjork was terrible while she was getting nominated for an Academy Award.
He said that?
Oh, absolutely.
That's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
But that's what you do if you're the enfant terrible. Last category, depth and breadth of lives ruined. Now, Krumholtz's brain has been melted. That one kid committed suicide and his mother lives to tell about it. The Union for Helping Children, whatever it's called, that guy is never going to repay his student loans.
Emma Brooks is going away forever.
But it seems like she's going away, but she's got a clean slate. Yeah, she's going to prison, but Krumholtz loves her.
But at least she doesn't have to deal with that bitch-ass grandma anymore.
Yeah, she doesn't have to deal with that fucking intaglio anymore.
No, Louie's kid is getting to wear it.
Yeah. You know, obviously, like, we've got the poor people of Bolivia that just get repeatedly fucked over by U.S. business interests, you know, as recently as last year.
The guy who was with Ava in the beginning, I think it's Jim.
Are you talking about the Cabbage Patcher?
Yeah, the Cabbage Patcher. his dick is only going to work with trauma now. Ava was very cold, and I feel bad for her because she should not have just been in a bra and underwear.
But the Cabbage Patcher, not to, like, glorify conquest sexually, but he wasn't.
This is the closest he ever got to sex. He's never gotten this close since.
He almost had sex with Supergirl, Josh. That's never going to happen again. He's going to be happily.
No, but he's never going to be able to have sex again, period.
Oh, he will.
Because of the body that he saw in the fountain.
Oh, he'll have sex again, Josh. It just won't necessarily be with a willing/living partner.
Emphasis on the living partner.
He's young enough, he can, like, change his career. I'm sure there's a mortician arts program at, you know, the whatever City College of New York. And
Mika Vaughn thought that she hit the big time and is just having to go back to her sun-drenched loft in Chicago.
She's probably got $100 million from that shit, you know?
Oh, well, and then we really have to think about the city of New York. They're not going to be able to have water. Because Gran sold that shit out to Cohen.
That's right. So it was like Chinatown. I didn't even think about this. So Gran is selling the water rights, the best water in the goddamn world.
It's like Chinatown, only without the incest.
See, there was all these angles they could have gone here, because think of what happens to the pizza and the bagels in this town. The best bagels in the world aren't going to be the best bagels in the world if they're getting Bechtel Corporation water that's being, you know, diverted.
So they're fucking over every bagel eater in goddamn New York.
Every tourist that comes to New York expecting to sample the delights of a 6-hour-old, like, half-cold slice of pizza that's been sitting out on a slab for that whole day, and then it gets thrown in the oven for like 5 minutes. It's like warm on the bottom crust of it by the time you eat it. They're not going to be able to experience that. That's a quintessential New York experience right there. So that's something. What do we call this?
I love bagels, so I think we have to give this an 8.
An 8? Let's think. I think 8's pretty high considering what we see in this.
Bagels are fucking great. I love bagels.
But you know what? I've become such a snob that I won't buy bagels around my neighborhood. I'm like, they're trash. Why would I buy these bagels? I have to go to the Lower East Side to get bagels. Seriously.
We're not even going to start a goddamn Adam grocery store segment.
So put out a real number. Put out a serious number, Josh.
6.
6. Okay. I like 6.
The water's seriously important.
Water's important. And the Cabbage Patcher's sex life is important to me because, you know, that guy, he was a normal guy. He didn't like being made fun of. He just wanted to
He was a normie who, granted, he should have been made fun of for his poor Cabbage Patch skills.
He was like 17, right? Or something like that. That's what we're meant to believe.
No. They were old enough to have been drinking at a bar.
But
they're both college age.
Again, I don't know. I think in New York, you can drink at a bar when you're in high school.
They're absolutely both college age.
So anyways, this gives us an 8.5, which definitely puts it...
He struck out with Supergirl.
Which this puts us in the upper echelon.
This is crazy high. This is like number 2, probably.
Something like that. God damn it.
Because the episode's so insane.
Yes. So this puts it tied for number 3. So we had Hooked is still number 1 with a 9.25. And then Undercover, which we covered in...
Episode 68, close enough to see Dick Mole. And then this is tied with Slaves, which we covered back in Munch My Bets in episode 54. I really gotta do a rectal, so...
Yeah, which were both fantastic episodes.
I think this is that good.
Yeah.
Again, this is maybe the most insane episode that we've covered.
Yeah, and Slaves was completely bonkers. It's just above Wet and just above Rhodium Nights.
This is Wet.
I mean, I'm sorry, just above... No, Web is further down. Never mind, I'm sorry.
No, I thought you said Wet.
I did, but I was transposing it in my mind for web.
Sure.
But it's just above Rhodium Nights.
But this is a fraction of a point above Rhodium Nights' Strange Beauty, which I feel like this is probably the most kindred episode with, but this had
Gleefully
a
insane.
better cast.
Yeah, Gleefully insane. And the thing about Strange Beauty is he was making them more complete, right? So nobody's life was really ruined in that besides the girl that died. And even then...
Yeah, I mean, it's only got a 4 in depth and breadth of lives ruined, and we've got the entire city of New York going without water in this episode.
Yeah.
And then Futility is in there as well.
Yeah, Futility, which...
The Kevin Arnold episode.
Also fantastic, and a great stunt casting episode. And the thing about Futility, the reason it doesn't really necessarily have the same resonance with me is because we just did it, so we haven't had time to reference it as much as we have the other ones that are that high, right? So... I feel like we've talked about these other ones quite a bit.
And Strange Beauty is a real standout in that aspect.
Yeah, just Strange Beauty is fantastic. And I think this one is of a piece with that. It's not the stunt casting. Hooked is kind of in the same vein, right? Hooked is kind of balls to the wall with the craziness.
Sure.
Now, it's coming at it from a slightly different angle because instead of like a crazed weirdo, it's a teenage girl who doesn't give a shit about causing an AIDS epidemic. So it's kind of got its own thing going on.
Yeah.
But
and holy hell does she cause an AIDS epidemic.
And what's funny about that one is that it's not a stunt casting episode because she wasn't the person that we know her as today when that episode was made. Anyways, let's get out of here. 8.5, fantastic episode. Let's roll the next one and let's get out of here quick because Josh has a lot of work to do.
So, boy, do I. Heading over to episode.lol, which was built for this podcast by friend of the pod, Flet. The tape is spinning. Bill and Ted are hurtling through space-time.
Oh, I hate that part.
And they have landed in Totem, Season 12, Episode 20.
Oh my god. It's Dr. Captain Jackson.
Yes. Dr. Captain Jackson, and directed by Jonathan Kaplan, who directed this last episode we just did.
Nice.
When a young girl is found dead with a doll that is believed to have been left as a totem, detectives Benson and Stabler team up with Captain Jackson, a psychologist who assisted them with a recent case, to investigate her murder. Jackson's skills proved to be invaluable in deciphering the meaning of the totem and ultimately finding her killer.
It looks interesting. I don't recognize anybody else besides Jeremy Irons, but I'm looking forward to it.
Elizabeth Mitchell seems like she might be somebody.
She definitely is somebody. Who is she? Whatever. We'll find that out next week. But yeah, guys, please rate and review us on your favorite podcasting apps and look us up on the socials. We are always Munch My Benson, whether it's Reddit or Munch My Benson or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. We're pretty easy to find. Nobody else came up with the idea of putting Munch before My Benson before we did. So we have that.
Yes. Easy to find.
We're not on Snapchat. We're not on ChatSlam. We're not on SexProwl. We're not on MyFace. None of those. But we are on the ones that old men
or
like
TikTok.
ourselves
We're not
would
on
be
TikTok either. But please search for us on SexProwl.
If you look up SexProwl on the internet, we want Munch My Benson to come up when you Google that. Please.
And, you know, if you feel like you need to start SexProwl, just do it. Shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot. But yeah, guys, I think until then, we've talked a lot, so it's time to get out there and start munching, okay?
Munch the fuck out of our Bensons.
But don't munch any mushrooms that you aren't fully aware of their provenance, okay? Be safe out there, guys.
Honor, if I may.
You know what tonight is?
Season opener at the Garden.
And I have courtside seats, so sit down or I'll fine you as much as those damn seats cost me.
Your Honor, I can appreciate
I am
it.
not joking.
I'm not joking.
Sit down. Continue, Dr. Prochik.
Yes, I killed the Cola Queen because she was trying to play God. Who shall live and who shall die? Our very survival depends on fresh water.
Was it hot in here?
Detective
Is it
Stabler?
hot in here? I didn't order that pizza. I don't even like anchovies.
Detective!
All I want to do is get to the Garden of Water.
That's it. I find you in contempt.
Your Honor,
wait
Detective
for it.
Stabler was
Officers,
exposed
restrain
to
this man.
toxic mushrooms in the line of duty. He's not in compass mentis.
Your Honor, Al and Mike and Tom, we're going to go water skiing at the Garden.
Call an ambulance.
I didn't order that pizza, Your Honor. I'm not even a fan of anchovies. Boy, is it hot in here.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.